This is Scenic Roots. I'm Ray Bassett. Thanks for joining us. For some graduates of public high schools here in Hamilton County, their next steps beyond the classroom are careers in fast-growing industries: line working, welding, data analysis, and cybersecurity. Viable Pathways to Prosperity is a local effort that connects those graduates with job training, career opportunities, mentorship, and support to succeed in those industries. Carrie Randolph is executive director of the nonprofit Chattanooga 2.0, which steers the initiative. Jack Matherly, who completed the welding program offered by Viable Pathways, now works for Miller Industries, the world's largest manufacturer of towing and recovery equipment. Carrie, Jack, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Carrie, tell us more about Viable Pathways.
Viable Pathways is an initiative of Chattanooga 2.0. We have set a goal of creating 10 pathways to thriving wage career paths in our community over the next 3 years. Welding is one of those. We also have line working, data analysis, dental hygiene, and we're about to launch cybersecurity and teaching. These pathways are debt-free. We promise an interview to any candidate that completes. And we provide both high-skilled training aligned with workforce needs and employers' needs, as well as job readiness training.
And how did this program emerge?
It really grew out of workforce needs in our community and the desire to connect students like Jack to thriving wage careers. So it's really about economic self-sufficiency and economic mobility and breaking down the barriers to that. How do you find a good career that suits your needs? How do you get connected to opportunity? So we really wanted to make those clear and intentional. And we've connected with employers who say we really have needs in these areas. So it really is also about building our local talent and workforce.
And before we get to Jack's experience, who is eligible for this program?
We really target recent high school graduates. So really the target age is 18 to 24. Many of the students that we're working with have just graduated from high school, but we really look at anybody who's recently out of high school.
And Jack, tell us about you.
I went to Eastridge High School, and I am a class of 24 graduate. They came to Eastridge one day and gave us the rundown about what it really meant to join the program. And so I joined in the month of June, and I went through the whole program, and I ended up securing a job at Miller Industries just a couple months later.
And then, Carrie, just to explain more of Jack's experience, this is for recent high school graduates, and this is outside of the typical college track.
That's right. So we really are most interested in career pathways in our community that have a workforce need and pay a thriving wage. So we've identified those, welding being one of those, but it's a specific type of welding, MIG welding. So we worked with local employers to identify that need. They helped design the training. We looked at what that would take. We partnered with Chattanooga State to design it to meet those needs. It's a 4-week intensive training. It's 8 to 4 every day, with the majority of that time is hands-on welding training that leads to an American Welding Society Certified Welder certification. But we also include all the other things we know that folks need to be successful. So how to interview, a resume, measurement, blueprint reading in this particular case with welding, conflict resolution, all the things that we know are also important in financial literacy, all the things we know that are also important in being successful.
And for students like Jack, this is debt-free. Where does the funding come from?
This is a great question. So it is debt-free. We really are working with students who are a little farther from opportunity and access sometimes, and that's really our goal. And we fundraise for this program. And so we will blend and braid funding for a student. So maybe they qualify for federal workforce dollars. If they don't, we raise local and other funds. And one of the reasons we're really excited right now is we just got an investment from a national funder, the BlackRock Foundation, a $500,000 investment that really allows us to serve more students, expand our pathways. So we're super excited. Locally, we have funding from TVA Workforce Invest. We have funding from the Benwood Foundation, from the Community Foundation, from American Water, and from so many others who really, I think, see tremendous value in this work.
Jack, talk more about the job that you have now, thanks to the experience you had with Viable Pathways.
As of now, I am a 2G certified welder. I work on subframes at Miller Industries, so we build tow trucks. And we build the largest commercial tow truck, and we're the biggest commercial tow truck company in the world. still learning, but I'm moving on every day, trying to learn new things. It's a great place to be. I work 4 days on, 4 days off, and all from just joining the program.
Beyond the job, talk about the value of this experience for you.
When I first came in, I really did think it was going to be 100% welding, but it's not. They had people from the community come in and tell us their stories and tell us their trials and tribulations. They worked with us on banking stuff because, most people, I was 18, I didn't even have a bank. So they showed us like serious adult things you need to learn, and they treat you like an adult. It's not like school anymore. They come in there, you're late, you get fired. It's you be an adult and you learn how to be a worker in this world. It is great, and it's helped me out so much, and I build connections. I have Miss Randolph as a connection now. I have Andrew Hudson as a connection. But I have a lot of connections now that'll really help me in my future.
And soon, a home.
Yeah. So as of right now, I'm 19, and I've got my apartment in East Brainerd, but hopefully after this next year, I'll be able to look for a home, which is, I never thought I'd be here at the age of 20 looking for a home. So I'm very excited.
And Carrie, for people who want more information about Viable Pathways and everything at Chattanooga 2.0, where can they go online?
The best way to find information on this and our other programming is on our website at chat2.org. That's CHATT2.org. And there's at the top in the menu, if you want to go straight to Viable Pathways, click on the link up there. And it'll also have ways, if you're a student who might be interested in the pathway, there's a place to enter your information, but there's also other information and how to reach out to us directly about the program.
All right, Carrie, Jack, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
As AI reshapes business, companies in financial services, real estate, and insurance will need to adapt fast and remain compliant with regulations. Warrant is a marketing compliance platform for those companies powered by AI and based in North Carolina. I spoke this spring with Austin Carroll, founder and CEO of Warrant, backed in part by Brickyard here in Chattanooga, which provides early-stage capital for startup founders building companies with high growth potential. Austin, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Tell us more about Warrant.
Warrant is an AI platform that checks marketing materials against everything from federal to state to local regulations to make sure that they're compliant.
And when we say marketing materials, what types of materials do we mean that most people might recognize?
Anything from billboards to social media posts to influencer marketing. Really anything that can communicate what your business does or what you do, you can drop that in the platform and get an instant review.
Does this check things such as copyright?
It does not check copyright. It's mostly concerned with regulations, like the government regulations. So basically, the government doesn't want any misleading marketing and misleading customers. So our tool basically prevents that, gives you that instant feedback, that gut check, if you will, and allows you to edit those projects accordingly.
And tell us more about how this platform works.
Very similar to a lot of AI platforms. What we've done is we've looked at the regulations themselves, very similar to how your lawyer or if your company has a compliance officer would look at the regulations. And then we see what applies here to marketing and how does that differ by product or by channel. And then we take all of that information and we created a policy library. So I like to think of it as a giant checklist of everything that you're not supposed to do in marketing. And then our AI is intelligent enough to check against that and also check most recent sanctions. So times that people have gotten in trouble about this recently. So it checks all of that and it gives you basically that scorecard back. And you can actually ask it questions as well. So if it flags something and says, hey, that was an absolute claim that may be misleading, you can say, why do you think that? Or what regulation says that I can't say that? And it will actually respond to you. In that way, it is kind of similar to like a junior lawyer or a junior compliance officer, but it's one that you can ask dumb questions to and actually get the response. So we found that a lot of our customers, they are learning a ton from this tool because they're asking those questions that they've never really been able to ask before.
How does this work faster than a junior lawyer? How does this catch potential blind spots that a junior lawyer might miss?
There's two kind of questions there. The first is, how does it move faster? So today in regulated industries, which we primarily serve, which is financial services, insurance, real estate, highly regulated industries. With these, you create a beautiful marketing material. You'll spend weeks going back and forth with graphic designers, copywriters. You have this beautiful piece ready. And then you send it to legal. And that's where the entire project stalls. So you're getting back and forth feedback from legal. You might get different feedback from different legal and compliance teams. And then you kind of have to go back to your team, rectify that feedback, and then send it again for review. So it gets trapped in this review process, which is really bad if you're trying to move fast, you're trying to get this marketing material out, or maybe you have a deadline that you're working against. So what our tool does is we eliminate those initial back and forth because you're getting that instant feedback. Even in the drafting process, you can drop a screenshot of what you think the billboard might look like and get that feedback. So it's bringing that feedback a lot earlier and eliminating a lot of the smaller things like, okay, you can't use money bag imagery on a billboard, for instance. It's catching that initially before you create this whole campaign around money bag emoji imagery, for instance. And the second piece you asked there is how does this see things that a junior compliance officer or a junior lawyer might miss? At the end of the day, our policy library is over 1,000 regulations, and we're only talking 3 industries because there's so many local, state, and federal regulations that touch financial services, insurance, and real estate. There is no way in the universe, even if you've worked in this industry for 50 years, that you know every single thing that exists out there in terms of regulations or what is changing now daily with the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. We don't know how many of those regulations are going to stand, if the states are going to take it over. I mean, I do this full time, and it's a lot for me to handle. I can't imagine a lawyer that's also dealing with everything the company is doing, and this marketing reviews are just a small part of their day-to-day. So those are the 2 ways that my platform really streamlines the review process, but also makes it a lot easier to have that second pair of eyes that consume all of this content around marketing compliance.
How did you come up with this idea?
I was a marketer. So I spent the last few years doing fintech marketing. When I started fintech marketing, I was at a neobank, which was brand new. There had never been neobanks before. So a lot of what we spent the first couple years doing is figuring out what regulations applied to us and how should they apply and what regulations should we even be following. It made marketing really, really difficult. So I was kind of inspired to do this because I felt a lot of times as a marketer, I was constantly trying to figure out what we could say, what we couldn't say, instead of thinking about how can I make the most creative marketing campaign. So I really wanted to streamline this process for all marketers, make it easier to hire marketers into regulated industries as well, and just make it better for everyone. So that's why I founded the company.
What are some potential sectors for this tool beyond the ones that it's already in?
We're actively thinking about that. We have set up a really fun tool on our website that lets us know every visitor that comes and lets us see like what their LinkedIn is and what industry they're in. Getting a lot of interest right now from educators. So education is next for us, particularly higher ed. And the second is really looking at healthcare and also other restricted substances, cannabis, alcohol, even food. There's a lot of marketing compliance issues surrounding that in a very similar way as we see in insurance and real estate and finance.
And thanks to this AI tool, one client review process was reduced from 6 hours down to just 15 minutes.
Yes. A lot of that has to do with when you're creating huge materials, either for potential investors, in that case, a securities kind of marketplace. These are 100-page documents. To read through every single part of that document and look for absolute claims, comparison claims for words like best, worst, better than, that is a really, really long time. And you're going to put it off. Like, I don't know about you, but I'm not reading a 100-page document and looking for words. That's not like my favorite thing to do. So that's kind of why we saw that huge reduction, because the AI was able to take that first pass, tell that compliance officer, in that case, a compliance contractor, what they should look for. And they were able to easily kind of identify what parts of the document they should spend the majority of their time. And also thinking strategically, is this really what we want to be saying? Because that's compliance job. They're protecting the company. But a lot of times they're stuck saying, that's an absolute claim. You can't say this, you can't say that. Instead of thinking, should we be doing giveaways? should we be marketing this as a fee-free product if we might introduce fees in the future? Allows them to become a lot more strategic, but also allows them to save a ton of time.
Talk more about your background. You're a Duke grad. You've worked stints at Brex and Mercury.
Yes. I think my background is very interesting because I've been in marketing forever. Since I graduated college, I graduated Chapman, went to school for film school, really fell in love with communications and communicating stories, and then ended up in marketing. I did hospitality marketing, I did performing arts marketing, and then I went to school at Duke, and I was like, you know what? We always dealt with credit cards in the travel and performing arts space. I was like, credit cards, that must be so cool to work in. So I ended up being a product manager at Capital One. And a lot of people don't talk about this, but the first 6 months that you're in financial services or finance, it's completely overwhelming. You're like, wait, how do banks make money? I was never taught this in school. It's really overwhelming. And I just remember feeling like, I wish there was like a better way than sitting in all of these trainings. There's not even any book on how to do financial services marketing. It's all kind of hard-won knowledge. So I started thinking, okay, like I want to combine my product knowledge that I've learned here at Capital One with the marketing that I used to do. But how do you market in financial services? Luckily, Mercury was nice enough to take a chance on me. I joined Mercury as the first product hire actually. And I launched their IO credit card, and you're launching a net new product for a company that's never done it before. So a lot of missteps. And I really wish that I had a tool like Warrant to make the process a lot simpler, to be able to explain, okay, here's why we can't say that. Because a lot of times I was agreeing with the lawyers that maybe we were going a little too far. But it was a really great experience. And then, I went over to Brex, joined Brex to lead their banking marketing, their Brex business account marketing. Did that at a really interesting time. Did that 2 weeks before the collapse of Silicon Valley Bank. And Brex, as you know, I'm sure, was one of the top benefiters of that collapse. But suddenly we were in a Zoom call. I was 2 weeks in a Zoom call with the CEO of Brex, a unicorn fintech, saying, here's how we should take advantage of this bank collapse. Like, who has a strategy for that ready to go? No one. But we were writing it in that Zoom call together. And we all had to be in the Zoom call together because we had no system or process to approve marketing materials in any way that was faster than like 2 to 3 weeks. So we all had to be together in the Zoom call to make sure that we could communicate with our customers and with our prospective customers in a way that was a little bit faster. That's when I started thinking, okay, maybe we should have some technology. So did all of my customer research, having been in startups for a while and having gone to Duke, and then eventually decided that I would be the one to solve it after I couldn't find a solution that would be up to my standards and that was really a solution targeted towards marketers who live and breathe all of the content that a company produces versus compliance that wants a really great record-keeping software. So that's why I started Warrant.
Talk more about what brought you here to Chattanooga, your experience here, and the support from Brickyard.
Before Chattanooga, I was in Durham, North Carolina, which isn't that different of a town. Very education focused, less outdoors, but we still have some, and really good Southern food. So I was reached out to by the Brickyard team when we were raising our pre-seed round around the holidays. Never raise funding around the holidays. I don't know what I was thinking, but I was talking to them over Christmas, which was lovely. I'm sure their families appreciated that as well. And I just thought it would be a really great experience to come here and build with a ton of other founders. I was in Techstars. I did the Techstars remote program, and we did 3 weeks in person. And the best part about those 3 weeks wasn't the agenda with all the educational resources and things like that. It was being able to work with other founders and be able to collaborate and think, okay, how did you set up your CRM? Oh, I want to set it up that way. And so I knew that coming here and being exposed to that 24/7 would be super helpful, and it already really has been, which has been great.
And for people who want to learn more, where can they go online?
They can go to our website at hellowarrant.com. We also have a really fun newsletter about marketing compliance. I say it's fun because it's called Marketing's Most Wanted, and it's all about who's in trouble this week and how the regulations are changing. With this new administration, they are changing every day. So if you're in financial services, insurance, or even real estate, definitely recommend subscribing just so that you know what's happening. And it's in a much shorter order than what I do every day, which is read this constantly. So those are the two places to find us online.
All right. Austin, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Last year, Olivia Reeves brought home the gold for weightlifting at the Summer Olympics in Paris and earned the World Championship title, the first American weightlifter to do so in more than 60 years. Chattanooga celebrated Olivia's Olympic win here on our campus, the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga, where she was an undergrad at the time. From a young age, Olivia has been making her mark in the world of competitive weightlifting. She's the next guest on the A-List with Allison Lebovitz from our public media partner, WTCI PBS, on Thursday at 8:30 p.m. and on the PBS app.
Look, I'm a woman at a certain age, and so I've been trying to do strength training. And I have to reconcile, I think as a lot of women do, that because I want to be leaner and stronger, right? The scale goes up, right?
Yeah.
The more muscle I gain, the scale goes up, and that I don't, I think it's probably, or I know society telling me that's not a good thing, just because you think you're getting stronger. Is that something you've also had to battle as you're going down that lane of being the best in your sport, and also maybe what society is telling you how you look?
For sure. For me, it's focusing on more on what my body can do and less of what it looks like, in terms of I can do some really cool things. Whether I'm up a weight class or down a weight class, I'm not worried about aesthetics. That's not my sport. As much as it looks cool, and I appreciate having people like Alona Mar who are spreading that message, and I love it. But just accepting that it's less about aesthetics. And the number on a scale for me can be difficult because this is a weight class sport. Like, I have to weigh a certain amount at a certain point, and I have to do things to manipulate that. I think in weightlifting, cutting weight, it's less extreme as wrestling or other sports, but it still can be glorified in a way. So it's not something that people really want to talk about or acknowledge, because I don't want athletes, younger or whatever generation, to see, oh, my favorite lifter made an international team and she had to cut all this weight. Like, so I must have to go down a weight class in order to be better. And I don't think that's the narrative that should be encouraged or spread.
Catch Olivia Reeves on the A-List with Allison Lebovitz, Thursday at 8:30 p.m. on WTCI PBS and on the PBS app. On Chickamauga Lake, this is the season for learning to sail, for recreational sailing and sailboat racing. The Privateer Sailing Education Foundation, which teaches sailing on the lake and hosts Sail Camp each summer, is located at Privateer Yacht Club, which is about as old as the lake, created by the TVA's completion of the Chickamauga Dam in 1940. I spoke recently with Amber Wattenberger, the foundation's board president. Amber, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Ray.
Tell us more about sailing here in Chattanooga and the Tennessee Valley.
As we know, Chattanooga just got named the first national park city in North America, and I think that's really exciting. And it got me thinking, and I wonder how many people in the Chattanooga area know that the sport of sailing is actually active and alive here as another outdoor opportunity. So with that said, Privateer Yacht Club is our host club for Privateer Sailing Education Foundation, and it was formed in 1940 on Lake Chickamauga to be the nexus of sailing, the Great Lakes of the South. So in that, fast forward to today, we have the foundation. It provides sailing education programs for youth and adults of all ages. A really neat thing about this is that what that does is it brings people together of all generations that can sail. So our biggest program, and I think a lot of people probably see the signs around town, the big yellow signs that say Sail Camp. The Youth Sail Camp is open to the public. It serves about 140, 150 kids each summer. They get to come for a week, learn to sail, and then those kids that want to continue sailing, the next program that we have through the foundation is the Privateer Youth Race Team. And so kids from the ages of 8 to 17 can train all year long. We have certified instructors that receive their certification from U.S. Sailing. They teach our programs, and we have a lot of volunteers that also do this too. So they get their certification, they teach the kids, and then, we have adults that come to us and they say, well, we want to learn to sail too. So we have adult programming we offer in the spring and the fall for adults to learn to sail.
And where does this happen?
This happens at Privateer Yacht Club in Hickson, Tennessee on Lake Chickamauga.
Talk more about the experience of being on the water.
My family came to it pretty late because my oldest son, he said, hey, Mom, I saw that yellow sign for sail camp and I want to try it. So I signed him up and he went to camp and he was like, that was the best week ever. So we were like, okay, let's roll with this. He joined the youth race team. And then my husband and I said, well, why don't we learn to sail? I took the Learn to Sail class as an adult. I'm in my 40s. So my husband and I are learning in our 40s. In that class, I went out on the lake and I was like, oh my gosh, I get this now. It's like hiking on the water. Chattanooga, there's so much opportunity for hiking in the area. My family does it all the time. My husband comes from a family of power boaters, and while that's great and fun, it's loud and it's maybe not for me. But going on the sailboat on the water, it's like hiking on the water. This summer, we have weeks of sail camp. You can go to privateeryachtclub.org and look under sail camp to choose a week for your child. A lot of people in the area like to send their grandkids when they're visiting for the summer, and it's a great way to be outside, be active, and enjoy the beautiful city that we have.
And then what's it like when we get into fall and school's back in session?
Fall is actually a great time for sailing on Chickamauga. There's less heat, so the wind is better. We have youth race team practicing. They kick off for the school year. And then we also conduct classes for adults, and they'll come out either for a weekend or a couple of consecutive weekends to study.
Talk more about the sailing community that you have gotten to know here in Chattanooga.
The sailing community is really something special. I've gotten to experience it going to, now that my family is avidly into sailing, and we have 2 generations, and there are other families in the area with 3 or 4 generations sailing actively. So we've gotten to attend regattas and other sailing events, and the community culture around sailing is something that is really special because there's this embrace of community volunteerism. So all of the events are put on as volunteers by the yacht club or by the org itself. So in terms of running races and regattas, we take turns volunteering to serve on the race committee. We have instructors that offer support to volunteer to teach others. And even with this multi-generational community, you have this cross-learning where you have younger people maybe teaching older generations and older generations teaching younger generations on sailing and sailing technique, and really a way to just kind of build togetherness.
And for people who want to learn more, where can they go online?
Sure. So you can go to privateeryachtclub.org under Sailing Education. You can learn about the sailing programs that we offer through Privateer Sailing Education Foundation. And then another way that's really easy, if you just want to text 44321 Discovery Sail.
All right, Amber, thanks so much.
Thank you.
I'm Ray Bassett. Thanks for listening to Scenic Roots. We come to you from the studios of WUTC at the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga. Email us at scenicroots423@gmail.com. Follow us on social media at scenicroots423. Listen to us online anytime at WUTC.org and the WUTC app. Join us again next time for Scenic Roots.